Hi guys, so my good friend Jeff Taylor uploaded this video recently about Eurostar losing money and needing cash, needing support, financial support. Now, the two things to talk about here. First is Brexiteers know the cost of everything and the value of nothing. But secondly, it reminded me of a story that that happened back in the late 1980s or early 1990s. When I was a kid back in Ireland, I remember this story of, a true story of a bus service that was provided to a remote community. I think it was in the west of Ireland. This community, they had a single bus per day, bus over and bus back, I think it was. And it was a vital connection to the main city at the time, Galway. It was just a bus service. Now, during the financial crisis of the late 1980s in Ireland, the government were cutting services left, right and centre. And I remember this bus service was cancelled because there was insufficient funding for it. The government said, look, you have to cut something, let's cut this bus service. And when it was cut, there was a massive local grassroots support campaign, to reinstate it. There was pressure put on politicians. Even I think some local celebrities got involved, and they got this bus service reinstated through political pressure. Now, it was not profitable, but it was providing an essential service. And I see the Eurostar in a similar light. Now, of course, certain Brexiteers, I don't know if Jeff is like this, but certain Brexiteers want to turn the UK into a hermit nation, a sort of North Korea in Europe, where there's no connection with Europe, where it's completely isolated. And of course, the Eurostar arrives all the way to London, and it provides a service to many London stations. So taking that away is taking away a privilege that the British people have. But let's hear what Jeff had to say.
According to reports, Eurostar is hemorrhaging money after passenger numbers plummeted due to the pandemic and needs UK taxpayer cash to keep it afloat. But as I'll come on to, the UK taxpayer doesn't have an interest in Eurostar.
Actually, that's not true. If you're talking about a financial interest, no, it doesn't have a financial interest in. As far as I know, Eurostar is mainly run by a French company and a Belgian company, and there's 40% is held by private companies. Now, this is, it's partly owned by private companies and partly owned by the French and the Belgians. But does the UK have a financial interest in it? Technically, no, unless you were to say, look, it's providing, it's taking people from France into the UK, so it is actually providing something. But I think it's providing a necessary service. It's a necessary interest that the UK have in it, because it's providing access to the European Union. It's allowing European Union citizens to come to London. So, in a way, in a technical sense, yes, the UK doesn't have a financial interest in Eurostar, but I think it has much more of an interest.
Writing in The Independent, Simon Calder says, in a normal year, Eurostar would be expected to carry more than 30,000 passengers a day on average, sell tickets worth £1 billion annually, and make around £100 million in profit. But trains through the Channel Tunnel from London have been reduced to a single trip to Paris and another to Brussels and Amsterdam, with a typical daily total of 200 to 300 travellers. And it's not just Eurostar. As you can see from this graph, compiled using data from Road and Rail, the quarterly drop in rail passenger journeys in Great Britain was vast, going from circa 400 million or more a quarter to 35 million overnight. So Eurostar has enormous costs and zero income to cover them. As a result, the Eurostar chief executive, Jacques Damas, sent the Chancellor Rishi Sunak a begging letter last November. And now, according to Sky News, pressure is mounting on the UK and French governments to agree financial aid for Eurostar, the cross-channel rail operator, as it fights for survival.
Now, we have to take a step back and say, does Eurostar provide a necessary service? I think it does. It allows British people to arrive at the city of Paris extremely quickly. It allows people to travel from other parts of Europe to London extremely quickly. It has environmental benefits, instead of flying aircraft. I think it's a necessary service, and I think it should be something supported by both European countries and by the UK, because it's operating also in the UK. Look, once again, whether private UK companies, British companies, have financial interests in Eurostar, I'm not sure. I couldn't find any information to back that up. But that's quite irrelevant, because Eurostar provides a necessary service.
And it went on to say that a campaign for financial aid gathered pace in the UK this week when a letter backed by businesses was sent to the Treasury and Department for Transport, urging them not to threaten the UK's economic recovery and post-Brexit future by letting Eurostar fall between the cracks of support.
So you see here backed by businesses in the UK. So businesses in the UK want the Eurostar to remain. They want it to be supported because they benefit from it. If you're a business person, you have, let's park the pandemic for a moment, but during normal operations, you jump on a train in London and you'd be in Paris not long after for a business meeting, or to meet with a customer, or to meet with a new supplier. That's extremely important. I know we've moved a lot of this online because of the pandemic, but physical contact, meeting people in person, is going to be maintained where possible in the future. And Eurostar facilitates that, and it's a help to both British companies and to European companies.
And the chair of the Transport Select Committee, Tory MP Hugh Merriman, said, "We simply cannot afford to lose Eurostar to this pandemic. The company contributes £800 million each year to the UK economy. It is unique in offering an environmentally friendly direct connection to mainland Europe."
There we actually have a number, £800 million per year to the UK economy, because it's bringing people into the UK from continental Europe. So providing some sort of support to that makes sense financially.
Trips from London to Paris, Brussels and Amsterdam on the Eurostar emit between 80 to 90% less greenhouse gas emissions per passenger than the equivalent short-haul flights. Like airlines, quarantine and travel restrictions have blighted Eurostar's access to its markets during the pandemic. Unlike airlines, Eurostar has been shut out from government loans that have offered a lifeline.
That's very important to remember. The airlines are being supported at the moment by government. The Eurostar is not being supported, even though it provides a similar service.
Eurostar's traffic has fallen by over 95%. Services have been stripped back to a bare minimum. It needs a joint, bespoke UK-French solution to help it through this crisis. But why should the UK taxpayer be expected to bail out a company in which it has no interest?
Once again, the taxpayer has an interest. Maybe British businesses don't have a direct interest. But this is beneficial to the UK economy. It's been, as we've seen, £800 million. And it's beneficial to British citizens. They can jump on a train and arrive in Paris extremely quickly. Now, this is me looking at it from a positive point of view. Being able to get to Europe is positive. Being able to travel from Europe into the UK is positive. If I put on my Brexiteer hat for a moment and I want to turn the UK into a hermit nation, then I would not consider supporting the Eurostar. I would not consider supporting access into the UK or access to the EU, because I'm afraid that Jeff here is one of these people who wants to turn the UK into a hermit nation. We don't need the Eurostar because we don't need the French people coming here. We don't need to go to Paris. Everything we need is here. Let's pull up the drawbridge. Let's close the border. Once again, there are people who want to maintain contact with the rest of Europe, and there are those who want to close off, to cut off contact with the rest of Europe. EU aside, I'm talking about Europe. Now, many Brexiteers will say we have a problem with the EU, we don't have a problem with Europe. But this is about Europe. This is about access to Europe. This is about Europeans' access to the UK. For financial reasons, for hospitality and touristic reasons. If somebody wants to come to London on a trip to visit the sites, not having access to Eurostar makes it more difficult. They'll end up having to take a flight instead. And then where do you land? You don't arrive in the centre of London. You land outside, and then you have to take a bus or a train into the centre, and that's more expensive. It's much cheaper just to be able to jump on a train and arrive in the centre of London. I've never used the Eurostar between France and the UK, but I would like to be able to use it in the future. That's why I think it's important that these types of services are maintained. They provide a public good. Yes, it's a cost, but I think it's a cost worth paying. Brexiteers don't want that, and I get the impression it's because they want to turn the UK into a hermit nation, cut off contact with the rest of Europe. We don't like Europe. That's why we don't want to support the likes of the Eurostar. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?